gymnasium. They set up 400 rather nice chairs. They set up the IT as best they can. This is not an ideal setting for a meeting like this. The acoustics are not very good. The lighting is terrible. It's all coming in from there. And all I can do is just tell you how wonderful our... Does that sound right? Are you hearing an echo? Yeah. Can we fix that echo, please? Fix the echo. But it wasn't there before. Maybe if we turn it down a little bit. How's that? That actually sounds a bit better. I mean, it's bad enough I have an Australian accent. But if we throw in an echo as well. Anyway, I think we can get underway. I think... Steve, can we get underway? 2 minutes. Okay, he says wait 2 minutes. Steve is my deputy head of school. I do everything that he asks me to do. I'm not sure why on this screen the kids are in jail. It wasn't that, that's not how we deal with kids. We don't put them in jail if they're naughty. My presentations are always filled with photos of kids. And this is because I love taking photos of kids. There was a time when I was a photographer, when I was going to university, which was about 1 million years ago. We all need a part-time job when you go to university because there's never enough money. And my part-time job was wedding photographer. So I've been to more weddings, even than most Indians. And you guys love your weddings, don't you? And I love going to weddings, they're really happy occasions. I went to an Indian wedding in my first year here. They said it started at 7 o'clock. I got there at 6:59. I was very, very lonely for quite a long time. We're nearly there. 1 more minute. Ah yes, there are more people around. And it's not their fault. So you guys are all parents of little kids. I'm the parent of a big kid. My little boy is 28, he's 29 in December. So I've been through what you're going through. I've been in cities that you're making. It's an exciting time. When your little boy is 29, you look back on things differently. And you look back on what you're proud of. And you see it in, I think, a more realistic perspective. Okay, we're allowed to start. Okay, for those who didn't hear me the first time, my name is Neil, I am the head of school, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today as we try and encapsulate what OIS is all about. OIS is the OBEROI International School, and we're special. When I came to Mumbai 3 years ago, there was a lot of schools looking for a head of school. And I had the opportunity to choose the school that I wanted. And this is the one that I chose. Because for me, this is a real school. Because this school is about kids. And I know everybody says that. All schools say that. Just like they say we're preparing kids for tomorrow. Which is kind of silly because do we know what tomorrow is going to look like? I like to think of us as the newest star on the Mumbai educational scene. We're different, and I'll try and point out to you how we're different. What are we all about, for a start? What's important to us? What are the real core values? Not the ones that are done up on the pretty signs and on our paper head and everything. What are the real core values? The main one is this. We put a lot of time and energy into making sure that this school is a happy place, because we think that's really important. We happen to believe that happy kids learn better than unhappy kids. Would anybody disagree with that? As a school leader, I happen to believe that happy teachers work harder than unhappy teachers. Yeah? I think a happy property management service is capable of transferring a gymnasium into an okay auditorium in just 2 hours. It's important for a school to be a warm place. If your child is going to grow, is going to thrive, it's important that your child feels comfortable here, that they feel safe, and that they feel happy. It's important that your child feels that he or she is important, that they're accepted. We're about kids here, so we have fun. A school that doesn't have fun is a very, very sad place. And because we're about kids, we're about family. There are schools that will say to parents quite distinctly, drop your kid off at the door in the morning and then go away because we'll do the rest. That's not us. We think we know a lot more about teaching and learning than you ever will, but each and every one of our parents knows one child better than we ever will. So this is a school where those two knowledge bases are encouraged to come together often. And because we're about kids, we're about the future. Because that's what our children are. And you hear a lot of schools that will proudly boast that they will prepare your child for the future. Do you realize that your kids are going to be at the top of their career around 2050, maybe 2055. Does anyone in this room have any idea what 2050 is going to look like? I'm not going to tell you, I don't. I know it's going to be very, very different. Okay, a few essential facts. We've got a really nice facility. I've visited most of the other schools in Mumbai, and I think this one's the best. I may be biased. A lovely little pool on the first floor for little kids, and then for those who want to be a little more competitive, we've got a proper pool on the fourth floor. Notice the background, we're in a very green area. That's the auditorium. That's where we should be. It seats 400 people, it's air conditioned, the acoustics are perfect. Sorry. That's this room. This is what the gym should look like. And we can play tennis on the roof, and of course we have access to this humongous patch of green just out the back there. It's a full-sized cricket pitch with there's a mango tree in the middle, but that's just sort of directly past the mango tree. We're 8 years old. We have 1,634 students, most of them local, but the rest come from all over the place. We have 25 different nationalities. And the thing about the non-local component of the population is that it's growing. And I think we can all recognise the reason for that. I think international families are moving north. Do you remember when they used to say, no expat lives north of Bandra? That doesn't apply anymore. Because anything south of Bandra has become so horribly expensive that I think multinational companies are looking to establish a presence in where there's a little more space and it's a little more affordable. And they're bringing their families with them. So I think that that changed just in 1 year. I think that's going to continue. We have 276 teachers. I know most of their names. And they come from all over the place as well. Our student-faculty ratio, how many kids do we have for each teacher? And remember, a low number is a good number. Right now it's 5.9. That doesn't mean there's only 6 kids in the class, because not all teachers are teaching all the time. But nevertheless, that is expensive. And so, let's start by looking at how the fees that the school charges compares with, I won't say the competition, because in my mind nobody competes with us. There's nobody like us. But let's say other schools that you may be looking at right now. These figures are correct May of this year. And as you can see, we are at grade 5 level. We are the cheapest of that group of schools. I didn't include the Derivine Valley School because they don't have an international program at grade 5. They do it IB diploma level. That's the fees as they are now. That's the fees as they were in May. So let me just raise up here and point out that everything will have changed a little bit. I mean, we moved there to about there. The top one was moved there to about there. And I'm sure the others will move a little bit as well. But that's how it would be made. Have you heard the rumors that we're opening a new school? And indeed we are. Where's it going to be? Well, this is a very clear slide. It shows where we are now and where the new campus will be. Can you see that really faint purple line? Okay, from OAS, you go out the gate, you turn right, and you go along the purple line until you hit the Western Express. Then you turn south, you go down the Western Express until you hit the JDLR, hang a left until you get to OBEROI Splendid. And if you know where OBEROI Splendid is, you know where the new campus will be. This will be the Garden City campus. I'm not sure what we're going to call that one. This will serve primarily this end of the Garden City development. That will service that end. It will be nursery to grade 12. There are rumours that one's going to be primary, one's going to be secondary. That's not true. It will be an IB school throughout. There are rumours that one's going to be international, one's going to be Indian. That's not true. They're going to be the same because we believe in what we do. It will be opening in August 2017, nursery to grade 4, which means that there will be more spaces available than there normally is this year. But what we're going to do first is to release application forms to fill the spaces that we have in this campus. And the forms for the spaces that will come up in the new campus won't be released until a little bit later. They cannot be because we haven't got a firm idea of what the demand will be. It depends how many classes per grade we're going to open, and the major factor on that is how many fantastic teachers can I find. Because if they're not fantastic, I don't want them, because that's the quality of the school. And also there's a question of how many parents whose kids are here will choose to transfer to the second campus. It will be the same quality as this school. It bears the OAS name. But remember what I said, the quality of the school, more than anything else, is the quality of the teachers. It doesn't matter how many swimming pools and computers and auditoriums you've got. If you haven't got good teachers, you haven't got a good school. We are blessed with amazing facilities, but you're still going to have good teachers. I hate talking about exam results. I'm going to very, very quickly. You won't be interested in this, but there is a commonly held belief in this country that good exam results indicates a good school, which is absolute rubbish. Good exam results do not necessarily indicate a good school. You can get very good exam results from a very bad school. Nevertheless, I have heard rumors that OAS is a really good school for primary, but it lacks rigor in the secondary. And that's garbage. Here's our GCSE results out of the 729 exams our kids sat in A. 51% of them got A or A star, nobody failed any. And F and G are officially failures. I'm not sure which section in E became a passing grade, but apparently it is. The IB diploma results, the average OAS kid is on the 70th percentile. The average mark is already ahead of 70% of the world's IB diploma graduates. Okay? Our results are good. That's the only reason why I'm talking about the boring topic, is because our results are good. And I think if I don't mention the results, you'll all think they're terrible. They're not, they're fantastic. It's not a concern to you, because your kids won't do the IB diploma. And I'll tell you why I won't do. Let's talk about accreditation. There's lots and lots of different forms of accreditation. We are currently accredited by the, I think it's the Mumbai Education something. We don't mention that. There is a form of accreditation that's used to ensure quality in American military schools. We don't take up that. For international schools, there's this concept of a full accreditation, the gold standard. This is what everybody aims for. It's accreditation through Council of International Schools, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, the Western Association of Middle States. 4 different bodies, all use exactly the same protocol, exactly the same 10-year cycle. That's the gold standard. In the world right now, at least last May, there were 8,231 international schools, of which 451 held the gold standard of accreditation. That's 5.5%. Why so few? Because it's really hard. You've got to be good, and you've got to commit to getting better and better and better. It's a 10-year cycle. There are 401 international schools in India, 10 carry full accreditation. The list I showed you with all the fees, we're the only one on that list with the full accreditation. And that's important to you. It's an external validation of quality. We're authorised to offer the IB diploma, and been since 2009, the primary years program since 2011, and we expect to complete our middle years program authorisation in December of 2017. I want to talk a little bit about the brand, because the brand concerns me a little bit. The OBEROI International School is now a strong brand. And a lot of you think that's a good thing, and it is up to a point. Because it makes it much, much easier for me to employ the best teachers. This is a name that teachers want to get on their CV. It's a strong brand, and that also means a very healthy environment. There's that auditorium. It also means a healthy environment, but we have lots and lots of parents coming here, maybe for the wrong reasons. The kids who thrive in this school are the parents who know, understand, and embrace what we do and the way we do it. What we're finding now is that because it is a strong brand, that people are wanting to get their kids in here because saying my kid goes to OBEROI is a bit like saying I drive Mercedes. And we need parents to understand what we do, not the ones who are just chasing a really cool sounding name. I want to talk a little bit about partnerships. The International Baccalaureate, the Asia Pacific office in Singapore, last year made a strategic decision to form a very close relationship with the flagship school in each of their major countries. And this flagship school will become the center for professional development. The heads of these flagship schools would together form an advisory board to advise the IB. So we've got the Western Academy Beijing, the oldest, biggest, best in China. Yokohama International School is the second oldest international school in the world. NIST, in my opinion, is possibly the best international school in the world. It's a really cool place. You've got Wesley College in Australia, and then the IB looked at the time there were 130 IB schools in India, and they chose their flagship. That's where we are. Something else I hate is standardized testing. Standardized testing is a form of testing which is carried out throughout the world to ensure that the kids that we teach academically are where they should be compared to everybody else. Why do I hate it then? Because it's a waste of time. Because kids who are being tested are not learning. Kids don't learn when they're doing a test. That's why it's a waste of time. It's not about learning. But nevertheless, every year we work with grades 3, 5, 7, and 9. Our kids spend 2.5 days doing these tests, and they do them alongside 73,000 other kids from lots of different schools all around the world. And we've been doing this since 2011. The reason we do it, the reason we waste these kids' time, is that we want some external validation, a reality check, if you will, that our kids are where they should be, academically. Because we're a little bit different. Our kids have a lot more fun than they do in other schools. Our kids don't sit up straight faced in front and pay attention. Our kids are busy, they're doing stuff. And we want to be absolutely sure that in the midst of all this innovation, they're not falling behind in reading, writing, arithmetic. So how do our kids do? Well, in 2011, the first time we did it, our results were well below the world average. Now they're well above. So what's changed? It's quite simple, really. In 2011, most of our kids who were sitting the tests were pretty fresh from the Indian system. Now most of the kids sitting the tests have been with OAS for a while, where it's a lot more rigorous. Like any school, we have challenges. Like any environment where we try to instill a particular type of education, any environment will bring their challenges. My perhaps biggest challenge is the fact that I'm in a city, perhaps a country, where everybody's obsessed by grades. It's all about the grades. And this doesn't resonate with me, because our goal is to take these kids and bring them up as high as we possibly can in all of these things. Now you've got small children you are responsible for, and by the time they graduate from high school, you're going to want to see all of these things raised as high as they can possibly be. Are you feeling scared? Worried? I would be. I was when I thought I was only this big. We do all of this because it's all important. These two are important, but so is everything else. And let's bear in mind that examinations are remarkably useless. Universities have shown how unreliable they are at indicating success, at predicting success. In a corporate sense, most CEOs look at the person, look at what they've done, not the praise they've got. Harvard University, the School of Arts and Sciences, no longer has exams because they think it makes more sense to assess what a student does throughout the year rather than sitting you down for 3 hours to see how much you can remember. We don't think that's particularly useful. Academic honesty is something I struggle with in the upper regions of the school because of the environment. Kids that grow up here, I think, learn fairly quickly that rules, for the most part, are things that you don't, it's okay to do your own thing. You can work it out later. They're just surrounded by this. They're used to outsourcing. If you've got a homework assignment, well, let's outsource it. And what's commonplace becomes acceptable. As parents, when your kids become teenagers, one of the phrases you're going to hear so often is, "Look, not everybody's doing it, therefore it's okay." And these kids are surrounded by it. This is our website, and this is the head of school's welcome. And this is another school. Word for word, exactly the same. Copied and pasted. Remember that slide? We want academic honesty to be there. We recognize it's a challenging environment to instill things like that, but we think things like that are very, very important. This is what a holistic education is about. We're concerned with the whole child. As I said, we get great exam results, but we develop amazing people, and that's my goal. And preparing them for the next, for the world they're going to go into is really difficult because we can't see it. All we know is it's going to be so different because everything's changing. And it's changing faster and faster and faster. What do these jobs have in common? I think about 5 years ago they didn't exist. What do you think these jobs have in common? I think they're going to die. It's fun to Google these lists. Just Google jobs that won't be here in 10 years' time. On one of the lists I found a doctor, GP. This so-called employee skill set that schools have been developing for years and years and years, producing a graduating class with a homogeneous set of skills. Everybody was able to do the same things. That's what Ken Robinson calls the employee skill set. I call it the unemployed skill set. You realise that in the UK, in the last year alone, 90% of new jobs were in the creative industries. Our kids need something that's a little more entrepreneurial. Our kids still need to be skilled in the academic disciplines, but they need to be skilled across and beyond them. They need to be literate and numerate. They need to be confident, creative, flexible, adaptive learners who can thrive in a world that changes that fast. They need to be risk takers, people who welcome error and complexity as a way forward. When I went to school, you only put your hand up if you were 100% sure. Otherwise, you're a student. There is no student here. Kids are encouraged to try. They're going to have to learn for the rest of their lives. If we can't develop a curiosity for the joy of being curious, then we're shortchanging these kids. They need to be cognitively agile. They need to be self-starting, self-managing. They need to own their own learning. They need to be networked and collaborative. The world networks in their future are going to be very, very, very important. And of course, they need to know this stuff. There's a whole list. And I'd like you to reflect for a moment on how much of this is provided by a traditional education. Do you want to see? There it is. A traditional education with a focus on reading, writing, arithmetic seriously shortchanges our kids. And they're going to find when they go to the world, they'll be very, very late. So it's not all about the grades. Okay? The world used to be a very competitive place, and the people who were successful were the people who could rise above and be better than everybody else. They were the successful ones. Not anymore. The successful people are the collaborators, the ones who can bring large numbers of people together, because that's how we get things done. A kid with 83% is no longer considered better than a kid with 82%, because it's just not relevant. See what I looked like when I was 18 years old? This is a story. It's not true, but I'm going to tell it anyway. That's my Morris 1100, my very first car. I'm a really, really good driver. I know this because I sat an exam. You know, I almost got 100%. I got 99%. There was 100 questions, and I only got one wrong. And I still remember it. The question was, which of these three pedals is the brake? It's the only one I got. I'm a terrific driver. You ever heard of the PISA survey? It's a test which enables the United Nations to compare national education systems by sitting between 250,000 kids for tests in basic academic competence, in tests which have no language or cultural bias. And because we are the way we are, we rank. Okay? Now, almost predictably, the schools down the bottom, Korea and Singapore, and I think these days it's People's Republic of China. But what about Finland? What's Finland doing there? Finland is there for two reasons. Number one, Finnish kids don't go to school until they're 7. Up until they're 17 years of age, they stay home and they play. They play because that's how little kids learn. And you're going to find a lot of play in our school environment. The Finnish people don't think it's a race. Also, Finland is a somewhat wealthy country. They have lots of professions. They have doctors and lawyers and engineers. But the profession which is the most highly regarded and the highest paid are the teachers. Because Finland seems to think that the most precious natural resource they have are their children. Hard to argue with that, isn't it? Can you measure entrepreneurial ability? Yes, you can. And this is what it looks like. Now, I don't know if you can see from there, but I've listed exactly the same countries, exactly the same order, so that we can compare the PISA survey, which is a test of how well people sit exams, with the entrepreneurial survey. You see what I've got? It's, can you see the relationship that I can see there? Please look at this slide again. It's important. Hang on, another slide. Yeah. Please go away from here reassured that we do these two things. We do really, really well. Not going to be external yours because there will be no another exam every year. There will be an assessment. There will be a more global assessment. It won't be an exam. We get our kids into the right universities. We don't focus on the elite. We focus on the match between the child and the university. Because if that's right, the child will fly. And I've seen so many kids miserable because they were shoved in and stand in the places that didn't suit them. Please understand, we do this, we do it very well. We just don't think it's enough. And if you want to send your kids here, you really need to embrace this idea of the whole child, this precious little bundle that we have to prepare for a very uncertain world, and we have to work together to do it. Okay, I've said more than enough. I'm sorry, Kate, I went for 32 minutes. Kate's just going to change the things around right now. Is that what you're looking for? Are you looking for a school you can work with? We have so many kids here, and they are so wonderful. You want to hear my favorite little kid story? You'll love this. In my last school, I've been a head of school for 21 years now. In my last school, which was in Germany, the IB school there, one day I was sitting in the playground with 3 little girls, about 5 or 6. And we were talking about kids helping kids. And I asked these 3 little girls, I said, if you could give advice to little girls your age, what would you tell them? And the first 2 little girls came out with pretty standard stuff about look both ways before you cross the road and don't go with strangers. But the 3rd little girl thought about this for a while, and she said to me, I would tell them, if your mummy's angry with your daddy, don't let her brush your hair. Can you see the enormous wisdom that these children have? It really is an amazing pleasure to be able to work with these little kids. Indian kids are different to the rest of the world. Indian kids are not shy. They love to be on stage. They'll have a go at anything. You look at some of the teaching techniques like role playing. Western kids sort of shrink back and oh no, that's not cool, no, I'll be embarrassed, no, I won't look cool. Indian kids just get out there and give it a go. They're wonderful kids to educate. Kate, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. This is Kate Arnquist, who is the head of early years. She knows, I'm a high school math teacher, I don't know much about little kids. Kate knows more about little kids than anybody else in this school, so I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Okay. So good morning, thank you for coming. My part of the presentation will be focusing on the earlier section of the school and how that is important and special and the best, of course. But before we do that, I know you've been sitting for 40 minutes, and that's not really good for your brain. So stand up. Okay, we're going to start with something that you've probably done before. It goes like this: touch your head. Okay, you're very good at that. You're going to pass the first exam. Now, what we're going to do is, you have to think a little bit. When I touch my head, you're going to touch your toes. And when I touch my shoulders, you're going to touch your knees. Okay, and also the opposite. So if I touch my toes, you're going to touch your head. And if I touch my knees, you're going to touch your shoulders. Okay, are you ready? Isn't this fun? Okay, you can sit down. That activity, I think you can probably realize, makes your brain think quite a bit, right? Without any kind of worksheet or filling in any blanks or memorizing anything really. It's pretty simple. Most kids can do it when they're around 4. They start to get good at these kinds of things. But what it does is it gets the blood going through your brain, kind of energizes you a little bit after you've been sitting for so long listening to us. So we do have important things to tell you, so get ready for the rest. The beginning of this part of the presentation, I'm just going to go over a little bit about the primary years program. Okay, the primary years program starts with nursery and goes through grade 5. Okay, and then as Neil said, in our school that we have a middle years program and the program. I'm just going to introduce Ms. Nina. Ms. Nina De Silva is our PYP coordinator. She's going to talk to you a little bit about the framework of the PYP.
So you're talking to the tallest person in the school, right? So talking a little bit about the program, what makes us different than the other boards? Okay, so we are all familiar with the IGCSE, SSE. So in your head, when I'm talking about this model, try and make some connections. So from ages 3 to 12, your children will be exposed to this model. It is a concept-based program. We believe in hands-on constructivist approach, which is extremely inquiry-based. When you have a concept-based program, can you hear me? Hello? No, I'm the one whose mic doesn't work. Neil, did you have the best mic? Hello? 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 I still have my teacher voice, so I'm going to go ahead. So, it is a concept-based program. That means that it helps us to make transdisciplinary connections. So, your children will not be given a workbook for science, for social studies, and for moral science, but all the elements of the program are in the 5 essential elements. So the 5 essential elements on which the program is based is knowledge, concepts, skills, actions, and attitudes. Like pretty much what Kate did with you today is to just give you a snapshot that a learning involves a lot of hands-on and body movements. And we expect from our parents to be partners in our students' learning. So you will be invited a lot to school to be a part of their learning. All your expertise will be involved in our units of inquiry. Again, going back to no subject areas, but the focus will be on the themes. We have 6 transdisciplinary themes through which the different content areas will be covered.
Thank you, Nina. Okay, so now that we know that, what makes the early years at OBEROI special? How are we different? I think that's what we want you to know. That's what you need to know today when you're considering applying to our school. So we have a play-based approach. I think if you reflect back on your own childhood, or even possibly on observing your own child, they learn so much when they're having fun, when they're in that play situation, where there's no pressure, where they're able to try new things in a risk-free environment. So if you think about pretend play, they take on roles, they pretend to make the pizza, serve it to somebody, we play restaurant, we play doctor, we play all of these things, and in all of those little situations that they make up from their own creativity, they try out new language, they try out new ways to interact, right? And they build those concepts in those concepts that become part of what they know about the world, which is really important for the early years. In the early years, we want to build that strong foundation with language skills, oral language skills, okay, motor skills, most of you. Okay. So for nursery, that's mostly what they're going to be doing. And I think if you think about it, obviously in the unit letters that come home from the teachers and in the blogs, you'll see how that connects to the content knowledge of the different subjects. Kids, we listen to their ideas, we listen to their questions, we use that to guide our planning of the learning activities. And we take them out places, we go places, we do things with them, and we listen to them. And that's where we observe the learning. Again, these are the main foundational skills that we want to develop first in our young children. Those oral language skills have to come first. You have to learn how to communicate before you can start memorizing ABC, phonics, any of that stuff. The oral language has to be there. Otherwise, the rest of it doesn't make sense. There's no context for the learning. So, oral language, talking about stories that we know, looking at new stories in small groups, teachers making up stories, kids making up stories, documenting that with drawings and illustrations, all of that. Then the motor skills come into that as well. They use the language to talk about what they've done, they use their creativity, and that's the learning. Those motor skills, gross motor is really important. Gross motor has to develop before fine motor can be developed. So in Mumbai, I know it's challenging because half the year you have to be really brave to go outside. And we have to look for other ways to give our kids these opportunities to develop those gross motor skills. And we do a lot with that in school, but I think me and the teachers spend a lot of time talking to parents about how important it is to look for ways outside school as well to work on those motor skills because of the world we live in now and our Mumbai context also. In today's world, there's so many factors influencing our little kids, all the